Hey nerds, it's your boy, Fury Rider, bro. And I thought, you know, driving to work in the winter wonderland. I mean, I'd filmed a motovlog when there was more snow out, but you know. So today, I figured, while we're driving to work, and I got my bandana on this time, brother. I'm not cold, except for below my knees. I had made a video about it, but it wasn't any good, about why I chose the Switchback. Hopefully I get my points together, and it makes sense, because if not, well, shit. One of the biggest reasons why I switched from the iron to the Switchback, brother, was I started feeling cramped up on the iron, especially after doing those test rides. I mean, it's been quite some time since I've switched now, but I started feeling cramped up, you know? I was all messed up.
Yeah, cause I'm all messed up.
My mom is gonna freak.
People will finally understand that I'm all messed up, you know?
You're all messed up.
My mom is gonna freak.
So I was having like some back problems and are you kidding me? One of the reasons why was, you know, I was feeling all cramped up, all that bullshit. I just lost my f***ing train of thought again. God damn it! It was a smaller bike in terms of weight. So when it was windy and I live in the mountains, I go through the canyon. We get a lot of canyon winds. I was getting pushed around a lot. And depending on the speed of the wind, like, sometimes it could get way too squirrely for comfort. So even during like riding season, there were plenty of times where I would have to not ride my bike to work or wherever because the wind was just too insane, man. On this bike, I mean, it gets kind of sucky in the wind. I mean, the wind just sucks, period. But it gets a little sucky, but I don't really get pushed around too much. On the iron, even a, you know, slight breeze going 80, you're like, oh shit. On this, it's just like, forget about it. That was like one big thing. Another for me was the tank size. Tank size on the iron, I had been looking into it. Like, I love the bobbed look. I love that peanut tank. It looks amazing. But I needed something bigger, just for what I've been using the bike for. So this is I believe it's like a 5-gallon tank, and it does extend my trips a lot more. So, you know, a lot of these are going to seem like very superficial reasons. I could have done this stuff with the iron, but I was in that mentality. I was ready for a change. I mean, if you look at the videos, I'm like, I'm never going to trade it up. But I talked about it a lot. I was thinking about it a lot. So I love the iron. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic bike. As a starter bike, I couldn't have been happier, honestly. Like, especially, I was thinking about when I first started thinking about riding, I was gonna go for Rebel 250, like just an old one because they're cheap. But then also, they had just released the Rebel 3 and 500, so I was gonna go for that 500. I'm glad I didn't. The iron was a fantastic first bike for me. I love it, loved it. Like, it was just so good. But in terms of what I was needing it for, I mean, obviously I do a lot of highway riding. Look at me right now. I'm gonna highway, making money the flyway. But there's gotta be a better way, a better way, better way. Yeah! I got the saddlebags and the sissy bar for work, because for a while, riding stock without saddlebags or a sissy bar, like everything loaded into a backpack, oh my god, that was killing me on the iron. First thing I got were saddlebags. I put my work shoes and my pants, my work pants, and my saddlebags at the time. That's all I could fit in those saddlebags. That would just leave like my lunch and all that stuff on my backpack. And then obviously I ended up getting the sissy bar. I think it was the Gasworks, which was really nice. I liked it. and that made riding so much better. It was like riding for fun on my way to work. I wasn't being dragged down by all this weight. However, for commuting on the highway and usually having like work boots, my lunch, all of that shit, like it got a little bit too much. I felt like super cramped up, getting pushed around all the time. There were a couple times like I still had a lot of high RPM, like when I was riding on the iron. You know, it just, if I was in a tough situation, I couldn't get out of it. Especially going 80 on the highway. Like if I was in a really tough situation, stuck between a rock and a hard place, I just couldn't throttle out of it. It was really hard. I mean, it would take a minute and then I could eventually get out of the way or whatever was going on, but oh man, it was just too rough. This, like, I'm rocking 3,100 RPMs right now, 3,000, and I'm in 6, and I've still got plenty of more. Like I could really get on it, you know. And then just for commuting, in the video I was like, I'm gonna be a tour dyna bro, a bagger dyna bro, a dyna bagger bro. So like this just suited my needs a lot better. That was like one of the biggest reasons. I just, for commuting, everything I was using my bike for, the iron would have been perfect if I lived in town. I probably would have never needed to go up to a bigger bike. And then riding down to like different cities every once in a while like I had been, the iron just, it was really tough, man. And obviously I did do a lot of things that helped make a good change and alleviate, what the f is that? Oh, it's an airplane. Imagine being me and just so dumb that you see an airplane and you're like, what is going on? What is that? Who are you people? It was too much for me. Well, not, it was too little for me, I guess you would say. Like, I hate to say this, but I feel like I grew out of it for what I was using it for. Like, what my intended purposes were for riding the motorcycle day to day. It just didn't suit my needs anymore. So, if I had the money, I would have loved to keep the iron. I would have bobbed it out. I would have done some fun ass shit to that. Maybe make a chopper, who knows. But I would have definitely made that like a fun bike, something that I could really appreciate, and just, you know, go for a Sunday cruise, take it out on Central. That's our main street here. It runs from the top of Albuquerque to the bottom of Albuquerque. But just cruise down Central, that would have been awesome. But I couldn't, so, you know, that's how I do. So when I got the good old Spirit of 44, the Switchback, I mean, you've seen the test ride videos. I was a little bit like, I don't know, at first. Actually, looking back on it, like, I really wanted that lowrider. Like, I really wanted that lowrider. I liked the blue. I was like, you know, matches my truck. But also, they just released the 2020 Lowrider S, and that's like my dream bike, brother. And so I was like, fuck it, let me see if I could get a lowrider. And I probably could have for the same price as a Switchback, but like riding it, it was fine. But man, it just felt, the Switchback felt so much more like just like, you know, I can't describe it. It had more like get up and go. Nothing wrong with the Milwaukee 8s, but when riding the Switchback, like I just felt like, oh, this feels right. The lowrider, I think it was a 2018 lowrider 107, like it just, I mean, it felt good. They're very comfortable bike, very nice bikes, fun bikes, but this felt more up my alley, I guess. Like when I got on the lowrider, how this drove, that's what I was expecting out of the lowrider. So when the lowrider didn't quite meet expectations, I was a little hurt. I was like, how you gonna do me like that, lowrider? How are you gonna do me like that? So I'd seen this because, you know, it catches your eye. It's a beautiful bike. That's why I bought it. Hey! But I'd seen this. It had a price tag that was very manageable. A little bit less than the lowrider. The only thing that had scared me off of it was the mileage, because it was used. Same with the lowrider. The lowrider had like 2,000 miles, I think. I noticed like anytime I go ride a used bike over at Harley, like it's always 2,000 miles. Somebody's like, yeah, I'm 50 years old, I'm gonna go through my midlife crisis, let's get a goddamn Harley. They buy a Harley, they drive it 2,000 miles, and they're like, all right, peace, later, bro. But this one, so the iron, when I traded it in, it had like basically 10,000. It had like 10,000 miles. This one had about 14, I think. So that had scared me a little bit. I was like, yo, I know it's a little bit different on motorcycles. Like, I don't know much, but I said, it. The test ride was awesome. I did get some of that vibration, which the Switchbacks are notorious for. But honestly, since buying it, I have not had any issues with it, dude. I don't really have that vibration issue. I get some buffeting when I put on the windshield, but that's about it. And I don't like riding with that windshield, so. But I gotta go to work. We'll finish this up when I get off. And it's nighttime. See you guys in 2 seconds, brother. Alright, so we're back now, nerds. Honestly, pretty long day. I don't even remember what we were discussing. Like, what topic we left on. I think I was just talking about the, like, touring capabilities of the bike. And that was one large factor on why I made the switch from the Iron to the Switchback, which is a part of it. I mean, when I was looking at the price tag, it was pretty similar to the Iron. Like I had said previously, it had about 14,000 miles on it, which scared me at first. But, you know, my Iron was basically about there too. I mean, I was 5,000 miles less, but it did have the miles racking on it. And that was one of the things I definitely considered. At the end of that video where I was test riding, I ride home. At that point, like, we'd already started doing the paperwork for the bike and all of that stuff. You dick noser, man. Actually, at the end of that video, I was starting to consider it. Like, we were like, okay, let me go talk to him. We hadn't started paperwork or anything yet, because my late great grandfather, who the bike is tribute to, he co-signed for me. So we hadn't talked to him yet. Like, I was still considering a lot of things. Like, I hadn't talked to him yet. I went and grabbed lunch and did a lot of research. That's when I discovered about the vibration that the Switchback does, that issue that it had. So I was nervous about that, and I had kind of experienced it on the ride. But like I said, after that test ride, I've never gotten any of that ever again. Like, it's just not an issue for me. I do get buffeting at the top of my helmet when I throw on the windshield. And I don't really like riding with the windshield. There are times where it's definitely beneficial and I definitely put it on, but for the most part I don't really ride with it. I do want to get a fairing eventually, so we'll see if I like the fairing. If I don't know. Basically, it's like the redheaded stepchild from Harley. One of them. I know there's quite a few bikes, but this one is definitely one of them. Like, people now, it's got a pretty big following. Like, I added myself to this forum that is basically just for Switchback owners, and there's a lot of helpful information on there, so that helps a lot. I definitely recommend that with any bike you get. In the video, I was like, I don't know, this bike's cool, but I don't know. Like, I was really liking it, but I wanted that lowrider. But after the test ride with that lowrider, like, it just didn't, that bike didn't feel right. As soon as I got into this, it felt right, you know? I had the issue with every time I would get on a bike with forwards, especially after riding on the mids from a sporty, like, my leg would start to cramp. But that went away immediately, and I was just like, oh my god, this bike is comfortable. Like, it's a lot of fun. When I'm going like 80, like right now on the Iron, I'm going 80 right now. On the Iron, I'd be like, oh my god, hanging on for dear life. I don't get that way. I don't get that way with the Switchback. I'm not hanging on for dear life. I'm just cruising along. It honestly feels like I'm just bopping along on the highway, like, not a highway, on a, like a main street where the speed limit's 40 miles an hour. And I'm just bopping along. That's what it feels like. And then you look down and you're like, holy shit, I'm going 80 on the highway. Like, what the hell? So it can get a little, actually, I'm not sure I've really been in any squirrely situations. Whoa, on the Switchback. I definitely got into some on the Iron, but that's because I had a level of skill and my ambition was towering over it. So, like, I thought I was this good, but I was really just this good. So it made things difficult because I would put myself in situations I really didn't need to be into. And I learned my lesson with that. So, you know, being on the bigger bike, it isn't really an issue. It's a non-issue. But definitely the comfort, the bags. It did come with a sissy bar. It's more of like a backrest. It's okay. I really don't like the style of it. That was one thing that was like tripping me out. I was like, that windshield is a grandpa windshield. Side, the passenger backrest is not my style. All the chrome, I was definitely not feeling any of that. But then, you know, that stuff starts to grow on you too. Not really the backrest. I still want to get the out of there. I'm gonna get that gone as soon as I can. The chrome, I do have long-winded debates with myself. I'm like, dude, that chrome looks good, especially for the fact that it's a tribute bike for my grandfather. It's Spirit of 44. You know, that was when he was born. And the red and the chrome, it looks hot rod, man. It looks good. I get a little tied up in that because I'm like, yo, but I want it all powder-coated black. Like, that would look really hot. And I think it would. But then there are some times where I'm looking at the chrome and I'm like, you know what, ain't that bad. And then I had a crazy idea the other day. What if I powder coated it all red, like a cherry red? Oh, I think it would look amazing, and it'd get closer to that Akira bike, you know, Kaneda's bike. Ooh, forget about it. Forget about it. Just the touring potential was a huge thing for me. Another big thing for me too is that with the iron, that 883, even when I was going fast in slower situations, it didn't feel enough, you know? Like, it never felt, it felt enough when I was first learning to ride, but when I was at where I'm at now, like, not that I'm an expert by any means, but I mean, kind of where I feel like I'm at now, it just wasn't cutting it for me anymore. And I was like constantly looking forward to that that 1200 conversion kit, probably the 1275 by Hammer. That's the one I wanted to go for this year. If I wouldn't have done it this year's tax return, I was probably going to throw it all down and have that 1200 kit done over the handlebars. Like, I needed that extra boost of speed. I've debated on the 110 cubic inch conversion kit for this, but dick, I honestly don't need it, like, at all. This bike is perfect the way it is. That 103 is still very, like, very capable. And like, yeah, it'd be cool to have the 110, but for me at that point it's just more bragging rights. Like, oh man, I've got a 110, how cool am I? It isn't so much like, oh, I need that extra 7 cubic inches. It isn't really that for me. Like, I mean, look at that. I just got out of that situation, no problem. No problem at all. And there is something to be said between the Dyna and the Milwaukee 8. Like, this just, the Dynas just feel way different. And they feel a little bit better to me. Like, the Milwaukee 8s feel fine. And I'm not sure if it's just the vibration in the handlebar. Like, the fact that it still vibrates on a Dyna. Like, it really vibrates. What it is exactly, but they just feel different. I don't know. I can't explain it. And it could have just been that particular lowrider, it just wasn't up to snuff or something. Or, you know, whoever owned it previously had done some different mods to it. But, I don't know, they just felt way different. And the Switchback just felt, like, perfect, you know? Like, just at home. That's the only way I can describe it. So, that's why I went for that. And I am not upset at all with my choice. Like, I am totally happy. This bike is fantastic. And I enjoy being on it every minute of every day. And I do miss the iron. Like, the iron definitely, dude, that bike was beautiful. It looked fantastic, and I love it. It was my first bike. If I could get it back, I would, but the guy kind of crashed it, so it needs some work. Those were like some of the biggest reasons why I went for the Switchback. I love the red. Like, that was the one thing. Like, my grandpa liked the iron. He really did. Once I put on those short shots with no baffles and just lollipops on them, like, he was kind of like, okay, why? He's like, I get it, you know, I'm a car guy, but what the f, Fury Rider? Like, just what the hell? So the loudness was getting kind of on his nerves, especially going and hanging out with friends coming back at like 12 a.m. I was always cool, I keep it in the low RPM, just kind of creep up the hill so you wouldn't really hear it much, but you could definitely hear it. So this being quieter was like a huge relief for him. But when he saw the bike like this, when I said I'm gonna get a Harley and I pulled up on the iron, like, he liked it. But I think when I originally said I want to get a Harley, this is what he imagined me on. I mean, my grandpa was one of the coolest men there ever was. Like, he was, what's his name, Steve McQueen was the king of cool, but my grandpa would definitely give him a run for his money. My grandpa was definitely the king of cool. When I rolled this up and he saw the red, he was like, damn. He looked at me, gave one of those big old Grandpa Ernie smiles, and he said, that's one hot bike. And he loved it. He would, before he died, because I mean, I got it a couple weeks before he passed away. And before he died, he would look at it, me ride that thing every day to work, and he would just be like, wow, that's a hot bike. He was really pleased with it. And that shouldn't be the only reason why you trade up, like, oh, my grandpa really likes this bike more than this bike, or, oh, this bike's red as opposed to this bike being black type of shit. That shouldn't be the only reason why you get a different bike. It was just contributing factors for me. And I'm just really pleased with it overall. There are times where I'm like, you know, I could definitely go for that Lowrider S or whatever bike it may be, but I definitely made myself a promise with this bike. My grandpa liked this bike, and he helped me get it, and I'm not gonna throw that away. And so this bike's gonna be kept forever. I mean, it's gonna be my road warhorse, basically. Like, I'm never gonna get rid of it. It means too much to me now. Those are some of the bigger reasons why I got the Switchback. My glasses are fogging up. It sucks when you can't see. Look at that. So, if you liked the video and you want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, leave a comment down below, tell me why you got the bike you got, any particular reasons why, and we might make a better video of this at some other point, you know, really get in depth. I want to do a review after I rake some miles on it, but leave a comment down below, tell me why you chose your particular bike, like what were the contributing factors when you saw it, or you know, when you sat on it, whether you're like, this is it, this is the bike for me. Also, I forgot to mention red is my favorite color. So when I saw this, it just screamed at me. It said, hey, over here. Yeah, leave a comment, tell me why you got your bike or what bike you're thinking about getting. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.